All right, hi guys. It's interesting and really good to be back here again. Today we'll be talking about controlling the thoughts of your mind. I know that's one of the most difficult area of a man's life that he finds very difficult to control. And I'm telling you, every man wants to be in charge. Every human, including women, every human wants to control their life. They want to know that they are in control of the things going on in their life. So the moment you are addicted to something and you cannot control it, it becomes a very big problem for almost every one of us. In fact, we are miserable when something dominates us, when we cannot control our lives, when we cannot choose not to do something or choose what to do. When we arrive at that place, we get really frustrated. But one of the things I'll be talking about, I won't talk about controlling habits and all of that. Maybe I'll do another video for that. But on today's video, I want us to talk about your ability to control the thoughts in your mind. Romans chapter 12 verse 2 says that we should not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but we should be transformed by the renewing of our mind. It didn't say you will be transformed when you renew your mind. Let's not quote the Bible wrongly. It says we are transformed by the renewing, which shows that renewing the mind or the renewal of a mind is a continuous process. It is never a destination where you say, I have successfully renewed my mind. Now I will rest. No, you continually renew your mind. Like I said, it's a continuous process. So we need to do that every single time. Let me say this. Thoughts cannot be pushed away. They can only be replaced. I've started already, but this is not my point one. All right, but I've started already. Let me give you an example. Think about an elephant. Picture an elephant walking through the grass. All right, so now stop thinking about an elephant. Stop thinking about an elephant. Push the elephant thought away. Stop thinking about an elephant. You see, the problem is every time you say stop thinking about this, it only gives you an opportunity to think about it the more. If you say I don't want to be worried, do you know what you do? I don't want to be worried. I don't want to be worried. I don't want to be worried. Your mind focuses on the worry and you are even more worried. So thoughts cannot be pushed away, they can only be replaced. So if you have a thought, the quickest thing to do is to replace it. So let's do the example we did just right now. Let's do it again. Think about an elephant walking through the grass. All right, so think about a lion roaring or a lion chasing a prey, an antelope. Think about a lion chasing an antelope. You see, what I just did was that I replaced the thought of an elephant with the thought of a lion chasing an antelope. And it was easier for you to switch. Maybe for some of you, it took a while before you stopped thinking about the elephant and started seeing the antelope. But my point is, you were able to switch from the lion, from the elephant, immediately to thinking about the lion, because that's the thought I was feeding your mind with. So the first step to clarifying or controlling the thoughts that comes into your mind is to first identify the thoughts you want to change. First identify the thoughts you want to change. So we're talking about controlling the thoughts that comes to your mind. We cannot just vaguely start controlling the thoughts. We need to identify the thoughts we do not want in our mind. If possible, I need you to write those thoughts down. See, the mind is so powerful, and the food for the mind is the thoughts. The mind is so powerful that the mind can rebel against God. In fact, let me show you one scripture. I think that scripture is in Romans chapter 8. Yes, Romans chapter 8 verse 7. It says, a mind set on the flesh is hostile towards God. Do you know what it means for something to be hostile? For something to take God as an enemy, for you to be vengeful, angry, opposing God. That's what a mind that is set on the flesh is towards God. So your mind is the first place you rebel against God. That's why the sin of the mind is called iniquity. That's where transgression or sin starts from, iniquity. All right. I hope I have not left my point. All right. So let's get back to what I was saying. So identify the thoughts you want to change. Maybe you're always thinking about pornography pictures. You can't stop it by saying, I don't want to be thinking about naked women. Maybe you're always thinking about, like I said, lustful thoughts, or you're jealous towards someone, or you hate someone, or there's unforgiveness, you have not forgiven somebody, or whatever the thoughts may actually be that you want to change. Name the negative thoughts. Self-doubt, putting yourself down, all of that. You just want to change those thoughts. Identify them first. Call them what they are. So when you go to Galatians 22, what Paul did there in Galatians 22 was that he identify the lust of the flesh. We cannot kill it if we don't identify. You cannot say, I want to change something when you do not identify. I hope I'm not taking so much time on this point, but you need to identify them. I think I've spoken too much about this. Okay, so the next thing you need to do is you need to select the thoughts you want to now have. Select the thoughts you want to use to replace the old thoughts. Select them, pick them out, say them out, write them down, like I said, if possible. So let's start from the first point I mentioned. You are having lustful thoughts. What can I use to replace a lustful thought? So instead of thinking about girls as two, I'll think about girls as sisters. I would work towards seeing them as my sister. It helps you avoid, in fact, you cannot think lustful thoughts towards your sister, except your mind has been seared, you are perverted. As the scripture will say, you will give them up to a reprobate mind. Yeah. So that's one of the remedy. I will now see them as my sisters. No longer will I see them as sex tools. So if you want to replace a lazy thought, thinking about I am lazy, think about the things you have done in the past and the things you may be doing presently that shows that you are not lazy but you are hardworking. Think about them. Think about those days you went out of your way to meet a need. You went out of your way to get something done. You finished something. Think about those times. If you say I don't have any, and think about any moment at all you were hardworking. I was listening to something. Permit me to say this. I was listening to something online, and then the lady was saying that, and you see this thing about Sapa, that there's a way you can handle it. That take a picture of all those things you got when you were rich, when you had money. Snap them and keep them. Put them together and snap them and put it at your screensaver. That any day you don't have money, remind yourself that I once bought this thing. I'm not so poor. I can buy it again. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. So remind yourself of those times where you actually went out of your way to get a job done. So that's about selecting the right thoughts you want to have. So the third thing you need to do is you need to now start feeding your mind with the right food. What you feed, you control. What you feed, you can control. The reason why you have authority or control over your dog at home is because you are the one feeding the dog. The reason why our parents growing up had a lot of control over our lives. They say you have to come back by this time. You must do this when I say you go and wash the places, because they were the ones taking care of us. They were the ones feeding us. So we abide by their rule. The day you stop feeding your dog and you stop showing up, the next time you come, that dog is going to eat you up because somebody else has been feeding it. It doesn't even know you anymore. It now knows the person who feeds. So you need to be the one feeding your mind. Do not let social media feed you. Do not let your friends feed your mind. Do not let music feed your mind. Anything you do not want that is negative, don't permit it to feed your mind. You be the one to select the food your mind. Give your mind a balanced diet. So you see people say things like food for thought. That's what the mind feeds on. Thoughts. Let me say this. There is never a time the mind is not feeding on the thoughts. Even when you are sleeping, you are dreaming, your mind is busy. The mind is always doing something. So it is important you choose that thing for the mind. Okay, say no, feed on this. Okay, say no, I'll read a particular scripture today and think about it for the rest of my day. So when my mind is going out of something, I bring it back and say, okay, no, this is where you are supposed to be set. The scripture says, set your mind on things above. The scripture would not have said set your mind if your mind cannot be set. So because your mind can be set, so the scripture is saying you should set it on things above. And that's what I'm talking about. Give your mind something to eat. So that's one way you can control your thoughts, all right? Choose carefully what you think about. Because you can, you have to. Don't say I can't. You can, you have to. I said identify what you do not want to think about, but don't stop there. Don't say I don't want to think about this. Choose what you want to think about and think about what you want to think about instead of not thinking about what you don't want to think about. All right, so the fourth point I have here is that you need to speak to your mind. Your mind hears you. Don't forget this. Your mind hears you. Don't think I'm lying. I'm not. Speak to it. My pastor said that it is easier to defeat a thought with a word than to defeat a thought with a thought. I'll say that again. It is easier to overcome a thought. It is easier to replace a thought with a word than to replace a thought with a thought. So I am thinking about lust, sleeping with somebody, and I immediately say, No, I rebuke you, evil thought. My body is the temple of the Lord. What happens at that moment is that my mind stops to hear me speak. The thought is paused so that I can speak. Let's try something out. So what is your name? And you say, my name is this. You're thinking about your name, of course, to tell me your name. Or maybe you didn't, you just said your name. And I said, okay, count from 1 to 5. And you're doing 1, 2, 3 in your mind. All right, count from 1 to 5 in your mind. And you're like, 3, 4. And the moment you're counting from 1 to 5, I said, what is your name? You would have to stop counting in your mind to answer with your words. So every time you speak, your mind is suspended from going too far, from thinking too far. It is suspended and it answers the question. So that's what I'm saying. All right, you need to speak out loud. Say the things you are. Say the things you are. Don't focus on the things you are not. Don't say, I am not a liar. I am not. No, say, I say the truth. I speak the truth always. My mind, my body is the temple of the Lord. Don't say, no, I will not commit fornication. Anytime you say that, you're still focusing on the negative. All right, so that's how you can control your mind. And I hope this video was helpful. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so when next we post a video, YouTube is going to notify you that we are up, and you'll be a part of the marvelous things God is doing here. God bless you. Have a beautiful life.